Oh my, doesn't that sound nice? I mean, it is good to be back in the studio with all of the boys and a very special guest. Yes, this is Three Guys Before the Game. Our summer series continues, and we are delighted to be joined on this 384th episode by WV women's basketball coach Dawn Plitzuweit. Honored to have her in here. And the other two clowns have been told to be on their best behavior. However, Kirchhoff has already begun being cantankerous.
Untrue.
We got a lot to get into.
False. Fake news.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. They're their full-service Konica Minolta dealer. You can go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. Yes, they are the ones that will come into your business place and give your computers and your networking system a computer colonoscopy. You know what I mean? A complete check, absolutely free, to see if you've got issues that one day could make you vulnerable for viruses, malware, scams. They're in. They come in, they say, hey, you're good to go. Or they come in and go, we got a little bit of a problem here that you need to fix, or one day your data could be destroyed. Visit them at comaxwv.com. Three Guys Before the Game is also brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. You buy a vehicle from them, a recreational vehicle, and the warranty lasts as long as you own it. That would be forever. The warranty forever, the only dealer in West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. That's burdettcamping.com, two T's right next to each other, burdettcamping.com. All right, studio's full. You know I always like it when the studio's full. I just like it. I just like a party. Just like a party. We should go to the record here and state for the first time in 384 episodes, we actually started ahead of when we were supposed to record because of her.
Let's go. Let's get it done. Let's do it, boys.
I mean, normally we got this whole big process where the producer, Jonathan Taylor County, Tyler Consolidated Kennedy, meets the guest out in the lot. No. I mean, he's asleep at the wheel. I'm sitting down in my office here, and I've got Coach P. I mean, let me in. I'm ready to go.
Self-sufficient. Let's get her done.
I mean, do you do that like if a game's supposed to start at 7, do you ever go to the official and go, hey, listen, 6:45, we're ready to go. Let's go.
No, they don't like to be told what to do before the game. They don't really like to be told what to do during the game, so I try not to do that.
How many technicals did you pick up last year?
I don't think I got one last year.
Oh, nice.
I think I'm technical free last year.
Has it ever been a problem for you?
Most of it, I think I've gotten one.
Seriously?
One a year is the highest that I've gotten.
One a year.
One
a year.
Yeah, I probably have, but that's not every year, so maybe 4 in my career.
Is that really
good? That's not a lot.
Is it because you said something in particular or said a particular word, or you just been riding that official and that official had enough, or what?
Probably yes to both of those in succession. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Did you ask for any of them? Like, were they premeditated, I need one here to get my team going, or were they all reactionary?
They were all reactionary. Yeah, I'd like to say that they were premeditated, but I'm not going with that.
Okay. How has your movement on the sideline changed in your career? Like, some people start heavy walkers. I mean, back and forth and back and forth. Then some go chair and just kind of stay on the chair most of the time. Where are you at right now in your evolution?
Well, I'm more of a kneeler than anything else.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because I had to get my knee replaced, I couldn't really squat all that well.
Okay.
And so I like to watch the game. So I either stand or I kneel. Sometimes I sit, but I don't really do that a whole lot. But I like to watch it, and see what's going on, because it's hard. If you're chasing the officials down and really coaching every part of the action, it's hard to really evaluate what's going on in the game. So more of a watcher than much of anything else.
You go towel under the knee when you go knee, or you go straight onto the heart?
Straight
Really?
down, yeah.
Not even a seat cushion or anything?
No. Wait,
Now, are you
a
going-
seat cushion? I mean, it's hard on the knee.
Is it on the reconstructed knee, or is it on the?
No, it's on the good knee.
It's on the good knee.
So actually, it's really funny because when I got to the University of when I got to the University of South Dakota, I usually kind of knelt and team sat on the chairs, and then I would draw on the board, do those kind of things. But my knee was kind of getting pretty bad. I didn't have it replaced yet, and I thought, what if I can't get up one of these times? That'd be really embarrassing. So now we have the stools, and I sit on a chair while they sit on the stools. Yeah, we've progressed.
Stool's big.
That means I'm older.
And stools are big here.
Well,
stools are big here at West Virginia.
Well, that's a different stool. So there are timeout stools, and then there's Huggs' stool. It's kind of like junior varsity stool, and then, see, when they went to the Final Four in 2010, they sit on a stool because the floor is elevated. And so he went, boy, that's a heck of an idea. I think I'll just have it forever. And so we travel with the stool. Oh, by the way, if you don't know, Dom Plitzuweit is our guest here. We didn't have a formal introduction at all. I mean, we just kind of jumped right in. But she's here. We're delighted to have her. It's a big time because what was the date of your hire? What was it?
April 4th.
April 4th. May, June, July. It's going to be 3.5 months before you finally get into your house, and it's coming.
Yeah,
I mean, how fired up are you going to be?
Excited. Really, really excited. The countdown is now officially on.
I mean, some people say that when you take a new job, it's not until you get into the house that it really feels like, okay, now I'm in, because everything's just been scattered, right?
Right. There are many times that I'm trying to find either a book to share something with the team, or maybe some film, something that a piece of paper, whatever it is. I'm trying to find them, like, oh, all my office stuff is still in storage. And then people ask me, where is it in storage? I have no idea. I don't know. So it'll be soon we'll be able to be organized again and feel like we have our stuff together.
Well, one of the nice things you immediately learned about Morgantown is that there's an oversupply of houses, and the home values here in Morgantown are significantly below national averages. By the way, he's a licensed real estate agent. Just
easy real estate market.
Easy.
You can find whatever you want, wherever you want.
Make a call.
It's really easy to find.
Lots of options.
Tons of options.
Right.
7-day close.
Right,
really
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
No problem.
Do you have Hoppy makes Adirondack furniture. He'll make chairs and things like that. Would you like one for your house?
Well, that's a loaded question. What's she going to say? No, I don't want one.
As a matter of fact, we need some backyard furniture. We have a fire pit. We do. Don't have
You
furniture.
don't have time for that. You need to be coaching. You don't
When
have
was the
time
last
to
time you made a chair?
I'm
actually?
off.
You haven't done it in a long time.
No, I got to get back into it.
Yeah.
So I'm off. You strike
Can we
me.
get the logo engraved in
Oh,
it too?
you can
while
do
we're
that.
At it?
Sure.
Here we are. See, already
You
making
can do
demands.
that.
I tell you
Okay,
what, win
just
some
checking.
games. Win some games, and we'll see.
All right.
It's a foregone
Fair game.
conclusion.
That's
She's
fair
going
game.
to win.
Well, Crutchville starts out just attacking.
He attacked
I mean,
her.
like 5 words in. He attacks.
Unbelievable. Unnecessary. It's conduct unbecoming of a Three Guys host.
You strike me, and you probably don't remember. I interviewed you on my show, but in just what I've read so far, as a really sort of a very organized point by point person. This is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing now. Is that so? And is that your nature, or is that a function of coaching? I mean, what is that?
Well, I think
is that true?
It is true. It's a good observation. At the same time, I think one of our gifts as a coaching staff is to really share with our players that we're going to try new things. And so while we're organized and we know what we want the end game to kind of look like, we're willing to set the drills up in a lot of different ways so that we can continue keeping it fresh for the players. We can keep it, entertaining for them in some way. And at the same time, continue working on all the things that were the layers, the stacks of drills that were the skills that we're trying to put together. So while we're really organized, it doesn't mean that we do the same thing all the time.
But beyond that, is it in your life like you get up at this time and you do your prep at this time and you exercise at this time and you do that? Or is that a little more loosey-goosey?
Well, for the most, try to be pretty organized with it, but it becomes a function of all the schedules that you have to work around. So some days it's pretty regimented when we get into recruiting segments of time, which is happening for us in July. And then, in the middle of the dead period, we move into a house and those type of things. So that's a little bit different. I'm not like a Navy SEAL at that point in time.
Okay.
Right. Just making sure you know that.
Are there times when you are like a Navy SEAL where you're just like, come heck or high water, we're getting this done now?
Well, we have a find a way mentality. So yes, to answer that, yes, in the regard that it's got to get done, but in the respect that it's really hard to plan. In terms of once I get to the office and practice, right now we practice in the morning. So now I have a production time after practice is done. But in the season, during the school year, when we practice in the afternoon, I kind of have to hide a little bit to actually get the practice plan put together. Because when you sit at your desk and people come in, it's hard to really get a lot of things done. Yeah. So I found 2 different places to hide so far. I'm not telling anybody where they are, although our coaches have found me. So I'm
in the
not.
Coliseum, there's hiding places?
Yeah, there's hiding places. Yeah, just so you know.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you said you'll try some different drills. You'll change some things up. What are the absolute non-negotiables in your philosophy when it comes to being on the floor?
Well, non-negotiables. We're going to finish every play. So we have a lot of acronyms probably isn't going to surprise you a whole lot, isn't it? Is it? But finish the play, FTP. We want to stay with it regardless. You know, one of my favorite plays ever in coaching was actually against our arch rival when I was at the University of South Dakota. And one kid goes in to lay it in, misses it. Somebody else flies behind, tips it. Another kid tips it. A fourth kid tips it. And then the fifth kid lays it in. And that to me is, not everything is going to go exactly as planned. You'd love to make the first shot. That would have been ideal, but we didn't. So now what? So now let's stay with it as long as possible, and let's stay with it longer than our opponents. So that's a non-negotiable for us. That's where the whole thing starts. Then that toughness component for us in terms of how we're going to compete. And I think the one thing that's really exciting about this group of young ladies is they're competitive. They want to be good. They're hungry. And so when we put them in competitive drills, they respond. They respond at a high level. Now, the hard part is they don't really understand what they're all supposed to be doing. So they're just trying to stay with the play and win that possession, and that's what we care about right now.
Mm-hmm. I like that. See, that FTP can decide a game.
It can, very much so.
Because as you well know, there's the margin of winning and losing oftentimes is razor thin. But if you just finish like one extra play in each half, you could win the game.
Yeah, well, we're in quarters, so look at all those plays we can finish, right?
No, so not exactly just like shoot the three and start down the court, start backing down the court, holding up the three fingers before you see what happens with the ball.
Well, not exactly like that, no.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
Right. Exactly.
Follow your shot. Right.
FTP. Now, that player's job may be to be the kid that's going back, so she may not run after it and chuck and chase it, but she's got to do her next job. And I think that's been something that's been really fun working with this group is that there's always the next part. So we can talk about spacing, and then the day we really work on spacing, we're so well spaced, but we have very little movement, and we don't go offensive rebound. And then the day we work on rebounding, then we don't have spacing anymore. Mm-hmm. And so it's a matter of continuing to kind of add different pieces. A lot of fun.
Is this your favorite part when you take a job and when you coach to install systems and install philosophy?
Well, favorite part is just working with the players. You know, being in practice is really the favorite part. So I was one of the coaches that I love the fact that we get to work with our kids in the summer. When they used to be years ago when they were on campus, but we couldn't do anything with them. They could just lift weights and play open gym and do those kind of things. It was frustrating because now not only are we working out and playing basketball and working on drills and skills and they're spending time on their own, but then we get to spend time with them bonding off the court, whether it's through book studies, whether it's through dinners together or picnics or different community service events. This is when you really have a chance to spend time with your players and get to know them. Because during the school year, it gets busy.
Oh, sure. Heard you guys do a little painting up at Chestnut Mountain Ranch, huh?
Yeah, we're pretty good. So if you need us to paint your chairs, stain your chairs.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We can get a business. Yeah,
okay.
we can work together.
Yeah. He's had a real process problem with his painting systems. So I think
we can help.
You guys could go in there. Chestnut Mountain Ranch is pretty nice, huh?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible what they do and the service mentality. And it was great for our young ladies to hear how they go about really kind of helping other people be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, exactly right. When that started, that was you've been there obviously now, so it was just land, and it was literally just land, and to see what that thing has become and the lives have changed, it's fantastic. So now I've got to ask you this: you said I love coaching the kids, I love being on the floor right now.
I feel like there's a tough one coming.
No, it's not tough. When did you have the epiphany? I think we all have this epiphany where we say to ourselves, that's what I'm going to do. When did you have the epiphany that's like, I'm coaching. I'm going to be a coach. Not only a coach, I'm going to be a head coach. When did it happen?
Well, I thought I was going to be a kindergarten teacher, so I went to college thinking that's what I was going to do and be a sixth grade basketball coach. I don't really know why in my mind I had picked sixth grade, but that's what I was going to do. I was going to be
very specific.
It was very specific. Yeah, it was a very kindergarten teacher, sixth grade coach. That was what my game plan was. And then when I went to college, the school that I picked actually didn't have elementary education, but I picked it because of the people. And the people were the ones that actually got me into coaching. And so then I actually I was going to school to become a teacher. So I was going to be a math and science teacher, biology teacher, in secondary education, grades 6 through 12. I was one class shy of a chemistry minor. I said, absolutely not. I don't want to be a chemistry minor. And they said, you can teach. You'll be even more versatile. I'm like, I don't want to teach chemistry. I don't even understand chemistry. I don't even know what I've done for years. Somehow I've done all right in these classes because I memorized well. But anyway, so after college, really kind of planned still on being a high school teacher and coach at that point in time, and then was presented with this opportunity. And so I always laugh when people say, oh, this is the career, this is the path you've chosen. I'm like, I didn't choose it. It chose me. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened exactly. So it was after college. My husband and I got married right out of college. And then this is when I first learned you should never say never. Because my husband said, I am never going back to Houghton, Michigan again. And then a couple of months later, we were moving back there. And the first winter that we lived up there after we were married and my first year of coaching, we had over 300 inches of snow.
Hello.
So on Christmas Day, we had to actually shovel off or sweep off our roof so our roof didn't collapse. Yeah,
How about that?
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. Well, the weather will be a lot better here.
Right.
We'll get a little snow.
I'm not even sure it snows here
Oh, perfect.
anymore. I don't know if you'll see snow.
Maybe
some of your road trips, probably not here.
two or three times a year we'll get a little 6, 8 or incher, but that'll be about it.
Building on Tony's question though, but before that, Coach, were you were an athlete, right? I mean, you were an athlete.
Athlete, probably a gold medalist.
Yes, I played.
You played. I mean, but when did that start? I mean, when you're growing up, like, okay, give me the ball. I want to play. I want to be. When did that start?
So I grew up on a farm. My parents both worked full time. My dad was a letter carrier for the post office. My mom was a baker, chef, and so. But then we farmed on the side, so part time But it was full-time farming, a lot of cash cropping. We had some animals, not a lot of animals. But then at that point in time, I'd get up in the probably around the middle school age is when I really fell in love with the game of basketball. Still was in multi-sports. It was a small school. You had to be in everything. I was a really good cheerleader. There were only 4 of us. There were only four girls in my 8th grade class, so you didn't have a choice. You had to be a cheerleader too.
Sure.
But then when I was growing up, it was kind of fun because the farm kids would all get together and play at a little Christian school in the mornings at about 5:30 and start playing basketball. And that's when I think it became really a passion at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
So I did have a hoop on the back of the barn, but there's sliding doors on the barn. And so the backboard had to get cut off a little bit. So it looked a little funny, but it still worked. It's still effective.
Dirt court.
No, actually I had pavement. I had cement. Yeah, with a couple of cracks. It looked like some of the roads in Morgantown, but besides that, you really have
West
some
Virginia,
skills.
she's in. She's only been here a couple months. She already gets it. Right?
Yeah.
All due respect to West Run Road. Hey, Hoppy grew up on a dairy farm.
Attaboy.
So he knows that. He knows that world. That's real world.
That's a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, it certainly is.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
So tell me about your mom's cooking. Like
unbelievable.
Like what is it? Like give me what's her go-to?
Best item.
Apple kuchen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Kirchville got excited.
Yeah,
we have
my wife
Kirchville in 300 episodes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
That's right.
That and probably chicken dumpling soup.
Oh, boy.
Isn't that it's a unique?
Yeah.
It's unique. Yeah. If it's
really
done
good,
right, I'm sure it's very good. So did the genes pass down to you? Can you do anything in the kitchen or?
I used to be able to decorate cakes, and I can follow a recipe with the best of them, but I don't really spend my time doing that.
Okay. Does the hubby cook?
He does. He cooks
pretty
quite
good.
a bit. Yeah, he's
pretty
really good. Really good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. The smoker, the grill, the whole 9 yards.
He's got that whole thing going.
He's got it figured out.
Wood chips, things of those nature.
Oh, yeah.
Go back to coaching for a second. How's your philosophy changed the most, or what part of your philosophy's changed the most from day one until now?
Well, there are 2 parts. Off the court, on the court, but I think more just like the overall approach. When I first started coaching, I think this happens a lot of times. People try to be the coach that they played for and who they worked for the longest. And for me, that was Kevin Borseth. And so after probably 2 years of trying to be him, I realized I had my aha moment, like, that's not who I am. Why am I doing that? We are actually polar opposites as human beings. And so really started to kind of change and evolve. And by that, I think, it's really important to me to do a lot of the team building within the game, within practice, but a lot of it outside of it. And so some of that changed because I just kind of realized that's not really who I am. But then on the style of play standpoint, it changed when I was coaching at Northern Kentucky. So our offense has a post player who runs straight to the rim. And then she follows the ball. She can follow it across the lane one time. Then she leaves the lane. Well, it used to be that player stayed on one block, and then the other block was open for other players to flash to, drive to. Well, we had a couple post kids at Northern Kentucky that wouldn't get back there. They wouldn't stay. They just started floating all over the court, and it became more of a 5-out. And it was really frustrating at first, but then I realized it was a lot harder to guard. And so then we had to make up rules to figure out how do you get them back into the lane. And even at South Dakota, that changed for us depending on what our personnel looked like. And so that's kind of evolved and continues to evolve. And it'll be interesting to see in working with our team this year, what does that look like for us? And we still haven't figured that all out yet.
You had all this success at South Dakota. I mean, you had it going. So how hard was it for you to decide, like, I'm going to leave this behind and do something completely different? Not completely, but very different.
Well, and I think not only did we have something really good in place in terms of our system, but we had it was all kind of laid out for us. The plan was set, whether it was things that we were doing off the court together. Our fan base was growing and it was really, really good. And we went to Wichita and Wichita was packed with fans that followed our team. But at the same time, I think what was really challenging about it is that Vermillion, South Dakota is a small town. Very similar to Morgantown. Well, Morgantown's 3 times the size. So, but it was a very small town. The people there were incredible, but the players and the players' families that you build that bond with and the people in the town were really, really hard to leave. That made it really, really challenging.
So why did you?
Well, because this is a great opportunity. This is special, and I think it's an opportunity for us to do this at the highest level. And I think we have a group of young ladies that are hungry. We have coaches. I'm fortunate because our coaches came with me from the University of South Dakota. So that's been great. Been able to kind of jump right in and say, you're used to doing this, go do that, you do that, and you do that. And just, okay, let's meet up and figure out where we're at with all of it.
Do you expect some time to reach the level that you expect to reach? Do you think you need, I need 3 years, I need 2 years? Do you?
Well, we need some time because it takes time to implement a new system, a new style. So what is that? I don't know. It's hard to put a number on that, but I will say, typically in the summer. So for example, last summer with our team, we were working on 2 or 3 things specifically for our 4 hours a week for our 8 weeks of the summer. And so you could really hone in on a couple different areas where now it's more a matter of let's introduce and let's work on developing our individual skill levels, but let's introduce everything. And so, but while you do that, again, it goes back to we're working on spacing, but then our movement's not good. We're working on movement, but then our spacing isn't very good. And so it takes time to put all that together. But what does that look like? That's a tough question to answer.
In this crazy new world that we're living in regard to NCAA rules, isn't it awesome, though, that you do have the opportunity to be on the floor? Because as you said, how many years you'd be sitting there right now looking over the balcony going like, man, would I die to be out there? And they're just running up and down the floor doing everything you don't want them to be doing. At least you get a head start here now.
Oh, absolutely. And that has been, I think the players have been incredibly receptive to it. They really have. And it is modification, it's change. They're very good at asking questions, which is great. When do you want me to do this? When should I look to do that? So they've been really good about it.
How are you roster wise right now? Because when you come in, you have zero idea as to who's staying, who's coming. I mean, it's etch a sketch, shake it up, and you're started from scratch. Walk us through the evolution of where your roster is right now.
Well, we have seven returners. Okay, we call them the Super 7. So the Super 7 were kids that we had a chance to work out with for 3 weeks, I think it was, before final exams were hitting and those type of things. And so it was great to spend time with them and get to know them. And it was great on the court because we could help them understand, here's some good drills for you to go work on individually. This is how you want to work on tweaking your shot a little bit. But really what was great is that after practices or workouts, we could sit down and enjoy some time together. And, we could do either an activity or we could just eat dinner together and get to know each other and listen to them giggle and laugh and have a good time. Then in about 6-week period of time, we added 6 newcomers. So one of the young ladies was Mari Russell, who was committed, signed, then opened it back up and then re-signed. But then the next 5 were all young ladies who are new to the program, completely new to the program. And so it's been a lot of fun to kind of figure out how they all work together. And as time has gone on, now again, we're 3.5 weeks into our workouts this summer. And they have been, and I was surprised. At first, they were like, Coach, we don't work out in the mornings. I'm like, yeah, we do. We're going to. I don't know. We haven't done that. We did it in the afternoons. I said, you're going to learn to love it, because by the time you get to the afternoon, you've got the rest of the day to do whatever it is you want to do. And so they have actually, I think, learned how to come in. And even though they may not be exactly awake at 6:30 in the morning when they're walking in, or 7 in the morning, they put on the right face, and then they get after it, and they do some really good things. So I'm really impressed with them, because that takes a toughness to do that.
Will you practice afternoons?
Yes.
When the school year starts? Because I know nowadays with online classes, you can do it whenever you want to do it, right?
You could. I think there's a good to this right now, because in the summer, and I think this is important, we're really about balance. We want our young ladies, go spend time, hang out at the pool together. That's great. Go do what you want to do. Go to a movie together in the afternoon, whatever it is. Don't forget about studying. We did start classes on Monday, so I just want to put that out there.
Sure,
that was a whole
absolutely.
day ago, so we're 2 days into classes already. But I think it's really important that they have some downtime as well. During the school year, it gets really busy. So I think in order for them, and plus they also nap in the afternoons now.
So does Hoppy.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
He's awake the whole time so far.
Yes,
They're
he's-
doing a good job.
I took a little nap there.
Got
during
about
one of the
20 more
answers, but
minutes,
that's
you'll be all right.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll practice in the afternoon. It gives us better prep time, and then it gives them time to take care of, hopefully get as much of their schoolwork done in the morning, and then practice in the afternoon, and then hopefully have some downtime, finish studying in the evening.
When you were putting together the roster, doing some roster management, how much did you go back and watch the returners versus just, I'm going to come in cold and see what I have and the impressions they make upon me?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, watching them, but also understanding they're playing in a different style. They're playing in a different system. And so it may not be a real true feel for how they can play. And then working with them and seeing them now, it's just been, it's an evolution of seeing that some of them grow their games, but also recognizing and understanding. And this is what we keep telling you, you can't be afraid to make mistakes. I think in college athletics, there are so many young ladies that are wired that they aim to please. They're great kids. They want to do the right thing. And so they want to go hard, but they don't want to make a mistake. But the reality is that's how you learn. And so that's what we're encouraging them to do, as odd as that is. Make a mistake, miss a shot.
That's not odd, and this may be a personal question from my household. So how do you go about getting that mindset out of somebody that may be their nature?
Well, that's a great question. I think for us, it's a matter of continuing to emphasize with them. We're in a ball handling drill. Man, we look great. It was awesome. I'm thinking, and we've got some guys out there. We have practice guys in the summer, and they're defending. I'm like, that's wonderful. Looks great. But the reality is, are you going hard enough to really go fast enough to challenge yourself to make a mistake? Because if you're not, then that's going to be tough. You're getting pressured by teams in our league. All of a sudden, Texas coming up and pressuring you. You're going to be ready for that. So right now is your opportunity to see, can you push the edge just a little bit harder? Can you turn the corner a little bit faster? Can you get to the rim and make a different read? Those type of things.
So go ahead, Brent.
Well, I just last follow up on that. So I assume then that manifests itself during a game where if there's a turnover or a missed shot, you've got to let them kind of play through it to give the trust from them to you, right?
Well,
or from
and
you
I think
to them.
Exactly. I think for us, the one thing that drives me crazy are turnovers. It does. And so what we are working on are the little skills right now to try to focus on taking care of the ball. So our team last year actually finished second in the country in fewest turnovers. It's something we're focusing on every day. But I think for us more so, it's a matter of you can't be afraid to miss a shot. You've got to take if it's an open shot and it's a good shot for us, you have to take it. Even if you're afraid that you're going to miss it, because there's a progression. You have to take shots outside of practice. When we're not with them, they have to take shots outside of practice, and then they miss them at first. Then they start making them. Then they get in practice, and they get an open shot, and when we're competing 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and they're probably going to miss it the first few times. But they have to be encouraged to continue shooting it. Then they start making them in practice. Then they get in games, and you know what? Unfortunately, you get in games, and a lot of times you don't make them right away. You miss them, but you understand what it looks like, and then all of a sudden you start making them in games. So there's a natural progression to it all. You wish that you could skip some steps, but unfortunately you can't.
Just listening to you, I mean, there's a lot of really positive coach 'em up vibe that I'm hearing. When, though, or do you blow the whistle and stop practice and raise your voice?
When we don't communicate, and we don't want to communicate with each other. So yesterday's quote was, there's no...
Because you have a quote a day.
We do. Typically, we do our message of the day. And I think our players they've done a great job. They were incredible in camp. We had a chance to have Kendall in camp. It's legal for me to say that because she's not of prospect age. So it was great to have her there. And we had
You did offer her, though, right? Is that
well,
right?
we can't talk about that on there. But I thought our players were absolutely outstanding in camp. They showed that you can have fun and play basketball and have a lot of energy, and I thought that was really important. And the same message is true for us. And I think in coaching, the yesterday's message was that there's no comfort in the growth zone and there's no growth in the comfort zone. And so we kind of talked through what that looked like. And I think right now it's uncomfortable for them because it's a new system. So they don't know really what to say. But once they know it, they need to say it and communicate often, because that creates an energy within your practice, within your games that is second to none. And so we're working on building that right now. And so that's what I stopped and raised my voice a few times. Like I don't understand it but it is because we're uncomfortable with it right now. We're really uncomfortable in that aspect of it. So I do.
This is one more question on that, because this may well be sexist, and I apologize if it is. Is that are women and men different from that? Because it was a quote, I think it was a Mike Carey quote, that when you yell at a team or raise your voice for a women's team, they all think you're talking about them, and with a men's team, they think they're talking about somebody else. And I apologize if that's sexist, but it's about maybe a temperament or how people take criticism. But maybe just address that. If I'm off base, tell me.
Well, I think it's very important. What I say, and I actually started doing this with our team last year at the University of South Dakota and started doing it with our players here already, is that there are times when I'll tell them a message. This is, in when we were coaching at South Dakota, for example, in the conference tournament, my message to them was, in the conference tournament, there's always a player that steps up. And it's not usually the player that is, and we had the conference MVP on our team. It's not that kid, although I'm not saying that kid won't score. I'm not saying you won't do your job, but I'm saying there's going to be kids that are going to step up in order for us to do what we want to do. And so then I stopped and said, but what I didn't say, Chloe, is that you're not going to score. I didn't say that because she was our conference MVP, and then the next game she goes out and scores 33, and I was like, okay, well played. That was her best game. But I also think it's really important in coaching females is to make sure that they understand don't misinterpret what we've said to be something that you've created that is not what we meant or not what we tried to say at all.
Okay.
We talked about one of the kids being tough yesterday in our practice and said, now that we're giving kudos to that kid. At the same time, what we didn't say is that you weren't the other people, you weren't those things. We just said that kid exemplified it. So I think we try to be very careful because females read, I don't know if you know this about females, but we sometimes read things into what's being said. Do you know that?
Well, I've
Did you know
been married
that?
a long
I've heard
time, and I do understand.
Yeah,
There's
heard that.
Okay, just making sure you know that.
I'm learning it all the time.
Yeah. Agree or disagree? Agree or disagree? Mental training is the last bastion that hasn't properly been instituted in collegiate sports.
Well, I'd say that's probably true, but I also think it's something that we spend a lot of time in. And so, and we're fortunate at West Virginia that we have access to resources that not a lot of programs across the country have. And so we certainly didn't have them at the University of South Dakota or at other schools that I was at per se. And so I think it's really a really important aspect of who we are as a program is to help our young ladies understand, hey, I know why that I play well when I'm in the flow state, when I'm in my ideal performance state, when I'm in my green light, whatever you want to call it. I play really well when I'm there, but I don't really know how to get myself to my happy place. A little Happy Gilmore reference. I don't know how to do that. So how do we go about building that? And so we look at what those skills look like and try to help them with those skills. But we also defer a lot of that over to the experts because that's not we're not qualified necessarily to help in all those areas. So thankfully we have people that can do that.
Yeah. I'm on this one-person mission. I don't know if these guys are with me or not. I just think when games come to the deciding point in a game, we mentioned Navy SEALs earlier, but what if we had that mentality when we know it's on the line? I just think sometimes teams just out and they blow games.
What was that noise again? Okay.
They just blow games when you look at it and you go like, it did not have to be like that if you were mentally at your highest level of efficiency, but you see people crumble in emotion.
Well, and again, not being afraid to fail. And I think that's what we learned even with our team at the beginning of last year, is that we had a high functioning team, but we weren't fearless like that. And we learned how to do that. And I think that's what's important, because you're not going to make, even if you're fearless, it doesn't mean you're going to win that game. It doesn't, but you're going to play and be loose and do it and trust your training.
How do you teach that? How do you teach your kids to be fearless?
Oh, we put them in a lot of drills to put them in scenarios where there's a real resilience part of it, where they're behind and they have to come back. And then there's a fearlessness of, being rewarding kids, talking to kids, pointing things out when they play that way or when they play with fear, what that all looks like. So I don't know that there's one thing in particular that we do. How
much was your non-conference schedule done when you got here? How much tweaking have you had to do?
Well, we had to get a few home games. I think maybe three home games we had to pick up. Our tournament schedules and aren't quite finalized yet, so we don't exactly know who we're playing in the two tournaments that we're in. So there's some of it that's still kind of trying to take place. So it's still in the works a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit challenging.
Oh boy, this is good. I'm encouraged by this, Hoppy, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, are you getting a little bit?
Well, because I tell you, I mean, I don't mean to talk about the coach like she's not here, but I mean,
go ahead. Now you're about to.
No, go ahead, do it.
Which means now
well, because with every question, you have a logical explanation of what you're doing and what your strategy is and what your plan is, and that to me again speaks to that really high level of organization. Like, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we address this. Here's what we do this, and that's. And you know this. I mean, that's how you build success, is to have a plan, and this is what we do for this. This is what we do for this. I mean, that makes a lot of sense rather than just trying to wing it. What's your game? Is it get to the? I mean, what offense do you run? How can you describe it to a layperson?
Well, I would say it's a motion offense. Well, it starts in transition. That's the really fun part. And that's what players will love it. And we've just actually started to work on building our transition offense right now. So it starts in transition. And it's not necessarily that it's not a numbered system. It's an understand the game system. First person is attacking the rim, if that makes sense. And then your primary post kid is attacking the rim. And then we space around the kid that has the ball. And the kid that has the ball has the mentality to attack, to score it. We want to score, we want to push, we want to attack quickly, but we want to take care of the ball. And so then we go into, if we score quickly, that's great. If not, we go into building a motion offense where everybody on our team has to do a little bit of everything. So that's where in our drills, every team is a little bit unique. And so working on how to pass it to somebody in the lane, but all 5 players on the court have to be used to doing that. And then how do you screen and how do you read and what makes sense? So we basically have one person in the lane, and then that kid, if she doesn't get it, leaves the lane. And then some screening action happens and somebody else attacks the lane. And then that kid gets out, and then maybe there's a drive there. So it's kind of a constant. We're attacking the lane, we open the lane. We attack the lane, we open the lane. And we can attack it by dribble penetration, pass penetration. We can attack it by screen and slip, screen and roll, back cut, from that kind of scenario. So we want to play with great, I think, tempo, not only in a full court of pushing it, but great tempo in a half court.
Do you like the three?
We love the three. Yeah. And I think we're working on getting a lot of our players as comfortable as possible, or more comfortable shooting it. So we've spent a lot of time this summer really in doing some drills to work on our lift, our feet, our timing, our hand placement, so that when they're putting in time on their own, then they know what to be practicing.
We always say on the men's side, to make it to the Final Four, you need to have a minimum of 2 guys that are going to make it in the NBA, or, come really super close. In the Big 12, to win it, do you need to have WNBA players?
Well, I think so, absolutely. I think you need to have elite talent. We can coach and play hard and do all those kind of things, but ultimately you need elite high-level players. And I really believe that we have some very, very talented young ladies in our program. We really do. For them to grow in their skill and their confidence is really important. But confidence only comes when you have competence. It's hard to be a really confident player shooting it from the arc if you're making 20%. Then your confidence is false. But if all of a sudden you're shooting, and our goal when we shoot unguarded is to be at a minimum of 70%. We'd like to get to 80% consistently, but 70% is a little bit more realistic. And why? Because if you cut that in half, typically when you shoot on your own and you're unguarded, whether it's stationary or on the move, and then you get into a game scenario where you're guarded, cut that percentage in half. So if we as a group, as a team, as players can shoot 70%, cut that in half, we'll take 35. Sure. 35% from the arc is good as a team. We would take that for sure.
That's good analytics there, Sam.
I want to get into that. So how big?
That's very good.
Rain Man over here, heavy into the analytics.
All right, sweet. We'll be good with this. Sorry,
I knew I liked her. This is good.
So you're
the rest of you guys are cut out. Here we go.
Number lover.
Big. You love
your
it.
number lover.
Yeah.
Well, I started as a math major in college, and then it became theoretical. Explain why. I'm like, I don't know. I can't figure that out. I just know that it is, and I trust that it is. So I love crunching it and figuring out. And I think certainly players want to know the why. Why are we doing this? Why? And so when we look at it and can explain it, this is what the statistics say. This is what the numbers say. Here are pictures of other players doing it. Here's video of why this works. They want to know the why. And so sometimes it's the why with numbers.
If you were picking one number that shows the performance, what's your favorite go-to?
Favorite go-to, and this is not in a stat sheet. So my favorite go-to is a TKO. A TKO is a total knockout. A total knockout is 3 stops in a row. If you get 3 stops in a row in a game and you do it 7 times, you have a better than 92, 93% chance of winning the game.
So this is so good.
So,
can we hold on? We need that. Can we schedule another one with her that's just analytics?
Awesome.
That's great. Say that again. 3 stops in a row, 7 times a game or more.
If 7 times or more.
And you win 90% of the time.
Yep.
Oh, see, that's so good.
That's good stuff. And now we just introduced it. We haven't even really worked on it a lot. One or 2 days in practice so far. But I think ultimately we're introducing so much to our kids. And so we told them, we're not allowing you to ball screen yet in practice, even though we're going to use a ball screen a lot. Because once we do that, then you're never going to go screen away. You're never going to set flare screens. You're never going to set back screens. You're just going to want a ball screen. So we're going to work on the other parts of it first.
Yeah. And I would imagine once you explain them to them, and this is one of the great things that happens, I think, a lot of times. In the old days, coaches would say, defense, just D it up. If you go to them, hey, guys, here's the deal. You get 7 stops 3 times in a row in a course of a game, we got a 92% chance of it. It's like, I would think that absolutely opens up a wow to a player, and that gives you a goal, knowing that's what we have to do rather than guard.
Well, it's interesting because it gives you something specific in the game to really focus on. And sometimes in the game, you're in the flow of the game and you're playing, and that's great. And you want to be intense in every single possession. But all of a sudden now you're starting the third quarter and you've gotten 2 stops in a row. And your team is up and they are, yelling, it's TKO, TKO, TKO. Yeah. And all of a sudden the players on the floor get charged in a new way and all the fans look at you like, what is going on? They just think the team is cheering for each other, and they are, but they're trying to inspire them into doing something a little bit special.
And it's a very specific, smaller part that you can break the big game into, right? Which I assume is part of the advantage there. Let's go back to something you said a minute ago about camp. And listen, I've said it on the show before. Your camp was excellent.
Thank you.
Your players did a great job. Your staff did a great job. What piece of camp plus community outreach factors in? We've talked academics, we've talked basketball philosophy. Community outreach is really important.
It's huge. As a matter of fact, our kids tonight are going to the Miracle League. And what's really interesting is that when we talked to the players and met them at first, they said, man, we would love to be engaged in community service. And I think there was certainly COVID put a damper on a lot of that. And so when we were at team camp, it came up, there was an opportunity to work with Special Olympics, and one of our players actually volunteered our team, and the gentleman said, I think you probably want to check with your coach first before you start volunteering to do these kind of things on your own. But that's really what our players were absolutely incredible in camp. I'll tell you, I thought they were great. I thought our coaches did a great job of designing the camp and then turning it over to the players in a lot of way and letting them really I'm sorry, but the campers have way more fun with, the Madison Smiths and the Dawn Plitzuweits. Just so you guys know, I'm just saying they do. The Jayla Hemingway on the mic was incredible, and the kids were having fun, and Sarah Bates and Isis teaching them TikToks. I was like, man, they are having a good time. So that was a lot of fun. It is a big part of creating the environment that we want to play in, but also it's a lot more than just playing basketball for our players. It's teaching them life skills. And so I think it's something that is important in both realms. At the same time, it teaches us to be thankful as student athletes, as people. We see the opportunities to give back, and it's something that's really special for us.
Have we were kind of joking before you came on. We're talking about, this is how you say the name of this particular town in West Virginia. And if you may have found, like, West Virginians, and I'm a native, are really serious about West Virginia. It's a big deal
for good reason.
Yeah, and
it's
so
a special place.
And that's, people from West Virginia feel very strongly about that. And also, we can be very parochial and a little bit leery of outsiders, all these kinds of things that go along with being a West Virginian. But have you adjusted to that? Because again, West Virginia people are very serious about West Virginia and about the university and all that kind of stuff. They take it very personally.
Right, they do. I would say this: the people that I've met, and a lot of people go out of their way to introduce themselves and say hi, which is incredible, because I don't know who they are at this point in time, and so I really appreciate that. So if people are listening and you introduce yourself, I love it. Please do it. It's great, great. But as a matter of fact, just happened today. I was getting coffee, and a gentleman introduced himself as a season ticket holder, and that's incredible. Now, I've also met about 4 guys that say they're all Bob Huggins' best friends, so I think that's pretty. They all are. He's got a lot of besties in town, that's for sure. That's pretty cool. I hope I have that many besties in town too.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, I think the people in not only in Morgantown but in West Virginia are going to appreciate, and at least I hope they do, how hard our kids are willing to play to represent the state that we are in. And so that's our goal, is that we can play with great hunger, but we can also be very humble in how we do that, and we can make sure that we are putting a team out on the court that our state can be proud of.
Well, that's pride is a key word. I mean, the band is called the Pride. I mean, people want to be proud. Right. They're proud of the university. They're proud of their state. They want to be proud of their athletes and their programs.
Correct.
It's a big deal to them.
It is, and rightfully so. They put a lot into supporting this university and supporting the athletic department, and so we want to do our part to make them proud of that.
New World Transfer Portal and NIL, and you're coming into an area where you're going to recruit. Can you walk us through your philosophy and what your messaging is to your coaching staff when you say, okay, guys, here we go. We're in West Virginia now. This is the player that I need for you to bring to me. What are you telling them?
Well, I think first of all, versatility is really important, because we basically have all 5 players doing everything out on the court. Toughness is really important to us. And the special part is that we have coaches who we've worked together. And Aaron and I have worked together for 6 years, and Jason, Aaron and I actually going on 7 years now. And so we've built, an opportunity to understand each other. And there are different ways to go about doing that. It can look a little bit different in each situation. So again, at our last school, in our first year, we were 1 game away from time for a conference championship. And then the next year, we had 2 post kids. We had a 6'4" post kid and about a 6'1" post kid. The next year, we really didn't have any kids with size. Our post back to the basket post kid was 5'10". We listed her at 6 foot, so it looked better on the roster.
See, confirmation on the media guides right there,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're not even close to being
just
true.
Lying,
no,
just
yeah, that's right.
That's right. I dig people just lying.
Yeah, I'm going to add size to my. I'm going to add my height to my height, not to anything else. But and so the second year, we really didn't have a true post kid, but we were really, really versatile. We were tough to guard, and we had an opportunity to go on and win it that year. And we won. And so I think you can go about doing it in different ways, I guess is my point. So would we love to be, a team that has to look, do we have to be a team that looks one way in order to have success? Not necessarily. We can kind of shift it and put it together. But versatility and toughness are non-negotiables. We have to have those things.
When you went into the Baylor game this year, obviously every coach says, if we do this and do this, we got a good chance to win. What was your level of confidence going into that game?
Well, it was interesting because the day before the game, when we met with our team, and it's just our team and our coaches, nobody else is in the room at that point in time, I told them, outside of the room, there's not one person that thinks you can beat Baylor. Not one. As a matter of fact, not even your parents think you're going to beat Baylor. They don't believe it. They hope you can compete with them for a while, and you can say, oh, we played with them for 3 quarters. We were up by 7 in the second quarter, whatever. That's what they want. They don't really believe you're going to win. And the question is now, does everyone in this room actually believe that you can win? And so, but we had leadership that looked at me like, what are you, crazy? Of course we think we can win. And so what was great about it was that then you go back to what we practiced from the beginning of the season. and said, okay, in order for us to get where we want to get to as a team, here's what we really have to do. And we knew in order for us as a mid-major team at that point in time to do what we wanted to do, we were going to have to beat Power 5 teams. And so what do we have to do? Well, we have to finish place. Comes back to FTP. We've got to finish place. We have to box out and we've got to rebound, because if we don't do those things, we're going to be smaller than a lot of the teams that we play, if not all the teams that we play at that level. And so we need to do that. Then what do we need to do? Well, then at that point in time, we need to take care of the basketball. Those are the two things we have to do, because if we get shots, we're going to be all right. And if we finish plays, then we'll give ourselves a chance. And so going into the game, I think there was just a calm about it. We had done something that had never been done before in school history. Our program had never won a game in the NCAA tournament before. And so at this point in time, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. We're just going to go out and we're going to do what we do. And we're going to see what happens. At the same time, we had to really change our entire defense in one day, in one 25-minute practice. So that was kind of entertaining to figure it out. And when we tried it at first, the way we thought it could work, it didn't work very well. So then we had to shift it a little bit, and the players were receptive to that. And then we went back later in the night and kind of walked through it again. And they were like, okay, well, I think we can do this.
Yeah. What was your mindset during the course of the game? When did you go, we can get this, we got this?
Well, again, that fearlessness. So we came down the court. We were on defense. We didn't get the opening tip. So we were on defense on the first possession, and our post player stole a pass inside. Okay, well, that's good, because if they get inside, they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. And so then we came down the court and we dumped it inside to our post player, who's very good at scoring around the rim. And she kind of dribbled it back out, and then the kid played off her, so she shot it, made it. So at that point in time, I'm like, well, at least we're loose. I mean, that kid shoots maybe 1-3 a game, and she started the first game, the Ole Miss game, with an open three, and she started this game with an open three. She made both of them. So at that point in time, I think everyone kind of put a smile on their face and was like, all right, we're here to play. Let's go.
Let's ball.
Let's ball. Let's go.
I like it. You mentioned coffee earlier. What's your coffee order?
Ooh, Panera hazelnut, black. Pretty
Straight
simple. Yeah. But at home in the Keurig, Cinnabon.
You go Cinnabon in the Keurig.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot of new respect for you, because our boy over there, he gets like Mocha, Waka, Luca, 5, and then when they're done with it, can you put 2 more pounds of sugar in it? Mm-hmm. The fact that you drink it black, totally good.
That's totally untrue. You missed it as usual. And why would you coffee shame? What's it matter what I like?
I'm just asking a question.
Why does it matter to you what I drink for my coffee? Why does that matter?
It's coffee. It's not dessert.
Well, that's your choice. That's not my choice.
Hoppy, would you go with me on this black?
I like coffee-flavored coffee.
Well, yeah. Oh.
Well, but here's the thing. Kercheval's 190 years old. They didn't have special coffees when he was growing up. So you're not going to take all due respect.
You're saying he grew up with Maxwell House?
Yeah, you guys are all clowns. I'll drink what coffee I want.
Jason Sanborn.
Folgers.
What's
Folgers?
Jason Sanborn.
Coach, what's your go-to snack? What's your go-to power snack?
Oh, a power snack?
Or just snack? What's your go-to snack?
Yeah, popcorn.
Popcorn? Okay, good.
Yep.
Right.
How about you?
Popcorn.
Yeah.
Nighttime with the TV with the wife. Popcorn.
And talent.
And the big snack.
I have to stay away from snacks.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Hoppy
you have one?
Anything.
Everything.
I've got a quantity.
Tony has an issue. He's got some issues.
I got quantity issues.
Brad does too.
Brad and I both tend to overeat a lot. Anyway, that's beside the point. Movies, Netflix, what do we do?
Oh, Netflix these days.
Yeah, what are you liking? It could
Ozark?
be a series or a movie.
You done Ozark
I've
yet?
done Ozark.
The whole thing, all the way through?
No, I didn't get through the new season yet. I'm in the middle of Heartland.
It's dark.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, yeah. Heartland is like the Canadian version of Little House on the Prairie about horses. And so it's just a wonderful little Hallmark little moment that I have if I watch it. It's great. Yeah. What I really need, especially during the season, is a Netflix series that I don't really have to pay attention to. It can be on and in the background, and I can be clipping film. If I actually have to read the subtitles and really pay attention, I can't do it.
All right, so during the season, Coach, and you just got beat. You get home. Wait
a second. Why do we have to get beat? Why can't we? What's the deal?
Just what I was
Let's rephrase this. Let's start over.
Nikki
Coach,
negative.
During the season, you just got home. You just had a big win.
Okay, that's better. I like this now.
Won by 19.
Yep, good.
So what's the because you're all jazzed up because you won by 19. So what's your come down? I mean, are you up till 2 or what are you doing?
Well, I'm a filmaholic.
Okay.
I watch a ton of films. So it used to be where you'd have that VCR and you'd point the remote, and then it got really fancy. You had the wheel on the remote, and now you tap the space bar all the time. So I'm a film person. Win or lose, whatever the outcome is, I go back and I do a self scout of that game and then start working on the next opponent. So
at that night.
Yeah.
Right, that night.
You ever do film
on the plane?
Yep.
You're looking at it on the plane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But on home game, is it at home or at the office?
Usually at home.
Okay.
Yep. I have a spot. I've got the reclining little chair. I've got a spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your husband's saying, when you come into bed, and you go, or he knows.
Yeah,
he knows. He was a coach, right?
He knows.
He coached
right.
too.
That's right.
When did you know your kids were going to be good enough to play college basketball?
Well, that's a hard question because as parents, we were never the parents that were like, oh, honey, you can go do, we're telling them you can do anything, but we're like, you should stay away from basketball. You should go learn how to play chess or something like that. And we don't want to be the type of people that you feel like you have to go play because your parents or coaches, those type of things. But I think it's certainly for our son. Our son was probably when he was maybe a 9th or 10th grader, knew that he was good enough to play somewhere. The question was where, and then all of a sudden he had his growth spurt, and then that kind of changed things. And then our daughter's kind of wired to be this little fierce, go-get-it animal kind of player. So kind of figured out early on in her career she'd be playing, if she wanted to, play in college at some level, and so they're both kind of wired a little bit differently, but they're both point guards, and they're both pretty good basketball players.
And your son's healthy now?
He is. Yeah, he is. Thank you.
Totally cleared. Good to go.
Totally cleared. Ready to go.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's been kind of funny. It's fun to watch him. The advantage that I had at the University of South Dakota, so there are times I could walk down the hall and see him, or he could pop into practice and say hi. And so now I and daughters usually communicate better with their parents, not always, than son, at least it is in our family, than our son. Like, do you get text messages that I send to you? Can you respond to one of them at some point in time? So I know what's going on in his world when I watch what's going on their social media. And so I think it's actually, I think, impacted me as a coach to the point of saying, we need to make sure that not only for our fans and for our recruits, but for the parents of our players, that they have a chance to see their daughter out there on the court. Because that's when I get to see our son.
Mm-hmm.
Have you met, spending time with Neil Brown? Have you met him?
I have. Yeah. Great guy. Great guy, great family. I think just really grounded and certainly very energized. And I think they're going to be really good. So I'm excited.
Yeah, fingers crossed. NIL, is it something that recruits talk to you about? Is it something that you bring up with them?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I think it's in women's basketball. It hasn't really grown to the extent that it has in football or men's basketball yet, but we're right there. We're right behind them. And so we've got to continue to get opportunities, for our young ladies. Yeah.
Transfer portal going forward. What do you think? Have you found the equation or recipe? Do you think is it a 1 to 2 player a year thing? What do you have an idea as to what it becomes?
It's really tough to say, at least for us right now. But I know at the University of South Dakota, again, just going based upon where we're at, we had a great culture and we had a great program, and we had young ladies that wanted to be a part of that for the longevity of their career. And so ideally, that's a great situation. And not to say that we're not going to recruit kids out of the transfer portal, but I think that number is dictated by what the rest of your roster kind of looks like. And for us, not only with we have 2 open scholarships for this year at this point in time, so that's an opportunity potentially in the portal in the future. But I also think, we're in the process of kind of getting commitments, or at least reaching out and trying to get commitments from 23 kids. I think that's the class that is certainly a really, really important class. They all are, but your first class is really important. At the same time, in the world of women's athletics, so much of the recruiting takes place so early that we're behind in building those relationships, and we want it to be authentic, so it takes a little bit of time. So we'll see what it looks like when it's, when we're done with our 23 class and what our numbers look like at that point.
So initially, you probably lean toward your best contacts from where you were in that section of the country. In other words, not necessarily the Northeast corridor, but as time goes on, you see yourself going back to where West Virginia has gotten players from in the past, and dip into Jersey and Virginia and things like that.
Well, absolutely. I think if you look in women's basketball, and not that this has to be this way, but I also think if you can draw kind of a 5, 6, 7 hour radius, so kids can drive home if they have the opportunity, that would be ideal, to be able to do that as much as possible. But at the same time, you're always going to supplement from across the country too, and that makes it certainly a lot of fun. But I think building our base around our our recruiting niche around our community is really important.
Flying WV is one of the most well-known logos in all of college sports. Are you seeing it help you when you guys go out on the road? Are your staff coming back going like, man, they kind of saw us. They knew who we were. Absolutely.
Whether it's kids from California, whether we're traveling and you're talking to people in Chicago, you're out east, you're down south, you're in Florida, wherever it is, people know the brand. And that's pretty awesome. They didn't really know what the paw print meant at our school at the University of South Dakota, but we were also going through, just going into the Division I era. And so it makes a difference. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, this has been good. You enjoyed this, Hoppy? It's good to have you back here with us. Brad and I missed you, and this is good. Hoppy's been out a little bit, and so it's good to have. This is part of our summer series, Dawn. So we only bring in, you go to a bar, and then they got the bottom shelf stuff, and then they got the top shelf stuff. The top shelf stuff costs more.
Where are we at?
We're top shelf.
We're top shelf.
You made
look at us.
You made the summer.
I'm not a rail anymore, huh? Okay.
You made the summer series. I mean,
wow.
The Palookas, we bring them in the fall. The summer series. When you agree with that.
So when
guys?
You ask me to come in the fall, I know what happened.
No. I say. So let me ask you this: when you do go in the fall and the kids start doing media and start doing like that, what's your message to them on social media? Because that can get out.
Good question.
That get out of hand.
Well, I think it's what's really important, and we talked about this when we first started, is that you are what you tweet. You are what you
are what you tweet.
You are, and it doesn't come back. Or whatever you put out there, that's a representation of you, your family, our women's basketball program, our athletic department, our university. So, make sure that you understand before you put it out there, because you can't take it back. I mean, you think you can, but unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Someone's probably screenshot it already. So you got to be really aware of what you're building. What message do you want to send?
Yeah. All right, man. This has been good.
Really good. Yeah.
Really good.
I enjoyed hearing all this.
I mean, you provided a great boost of energy to this program.
Well, thank you.
Our energy level's pretty high anyway, isn't it? Yours maybe yours is down. I thought ours was fine.
Yeah, but she improved your mood. You were prickly right from the
Thank
start.
you. I think
that's what he was trying to say
much.
there. He just didn't want to say it. I'll say
I mean, you came
You
in.
were prickly. Dawn's improved your mood. I just think that's clear. As you watch this show, that's clear. You got nicer as the thing went on.
I would agree with that.
She won me over.
Agree?
What do you mean she won you over?
She didn't need to.
She had already won you over.
I love the energy. I love the answers. I love the detail. I mean, I think it's very.
Are you a season ticket holder yet?
I am not.
Well, okay. Let's get moving.
Nailed me. Shamed me. I tell you what. But I was just thinking here. I don't go out much.
This could open up a whole new
understatement.
Hey, so Don, you familiar with Howard Hughes? Like he never went anywhere. He just went to his thing. That's our boy.
Oh,
I just thought. But I was sitting here while you were answering. I thought I'm going to tell my wife about the interview today and see if we can, show up.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great idea.
Okay.
Gonna go to a game.
Yeah.
He's gonna go to a game. He used to broadcast the games. He used to do the TV
broadcast. Yeah, I've done some
on the
games over the years.
He called the state championship game this year, the high school state championship. I don't know if you saw that highlight or not. Steal on an inbound and a buzzer beater to win. I mean,
I did not have a good call.
That's not true. You keep saying that. That's a good call.
I did not have a good call.
It's a good.
Now that I know it's you, I'm going to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good call.
No.
They're
currently running on.
Look, we're showing it on the video.
Wow.
The audio because
the audio's not on. You want to recreate the audio?
She steals it. She's a freshman. Ding. State championship.
Yeah, I don't know if I can comment on that for compliance rules, but I just wanted to hear the audio.
Yeah, we'll get you the audio.
No, it wasn't. It was
Hoppy,
not
just stop. Just stop. It was for a guy your age, it was a good call.
We deal with this with women. Sometimes you have to learn how to accept a compliment. So
yes.
We can do this within the show too, Happy. Like
coaching you up.
You're getting a compliment. You just need to take it and you need to move on from it. Is that okay?
Okay,
coaching you up. This is great.
This is good.
This is great.
She came in here.
But wait. Okay.
Oh, here we go. Excuse me. I'm going to step back for just a second.
Go ahead.
I agree with the concept, absolutely, of accepting a compliment. However, let me turn this back on you, Coach. So let's say there's a player that comes up and she shoots a shot and it's not a good shot.
Okay, let me see that form again.
I was just going to say the same.
What was that?
I was going to say the same thing. If she shoots it like that, she's not on the
He's
team.
on his
We're gonna
call.
talk
He just did a
about things.
chest pass shot.
What is that?
You're worried about your call when you did. Taylor, edit that out. Fix that.
Oh.
What in the world was that form?
Okay, can you try that again?
But it was not a good shot. Okay.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's well said.
And then one of the assistant coaches says, "Oh, good shot," but it wasn't. Okay, so there's a difference between accepting a compliment for something that you know was well done, and a compliment when you know in your heart was not the best you could do.
Did you think your broadcast was like this?
Hey, coach. Hey, coach. If I shot a ball like that, how do you think it would look, Coach? Would you come back and say, "Well, that's a good shot"? What the heck was that? That was a low point, I think, in Three Guys history right there.
But can I get an answer to the question?
It actually wasn't a bad question. That's a pretty good question.
It is a good question.
I
understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. I do
as
understand
a
the
coach,
question.
and you've had an answer for everything. As a coach, can you address that? If you remember what it was.
Yes, I would say at that point in time, you were fearless in the moment, and that's what we're going to build upon, and then we're going to practice that skill set and get better at it next time. So you gave it your best at that point in time, but now we need to train you how to be better for the next time you do that.
That's pretty well said. I feel better already.
Strong finish.
Let's go practice.
All right, Three Guys before the game, ladies and gentlemen, with our special guest, Dawn Plitzuweit. Will always be remembered, episode 384, for that horrific shooting form that Hoppy, again, for all of you watching this, we apologize in advance.
Do not come to that basketball camp. Don't go there.
Hey, I went to the camp and they told me to shoot the ball like this right here.
Instead, come to West Virginia women's basketball camps.
They'll show you a form which is true. You'll be going out there shooting like Jerry West. Three Guys before the game brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center. They happen to be the only warranty forever RV dealer
Humiliated.
in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. That's burdettcamping.com. By the way, anything new on the arena football team in Texas?
Efforting.
Isn't the season over?
Nah,
just wait. There will be an update provided when an update is ready. We're working through some things.
Three Guys before the game also brought to us by Comax Business Systems.
Still there?
Your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. That's KOMAXWV.com. Got some good guests coming up in the near future. Pat White has given us a verbal. Pat's going to come on.
That'll be good.
ProFootballTalk.com's Mike Florio would have been here this week, but got a little hearing going on there in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns and a quarterback, so that's out. Yeah. Also, Nathan Adrian will be coming in as well. Nate's back in town.
In studio,
recovering from double hernia surgery, and we'll get an update as to whether or not he's going back to Italy to play. So just a cast of thousands, but we really enjoyed this visit with Dawn Plitzuweit. We hope that you have as well. We encourage you to do this. Season will happen fast. We're already in late June. It's going to be July when the Mountaineers go out onto the floor. We encourage you to check out the WV women's basketball program and take a peek. That's it for our producer, Jonathan Taylor County, Tyler Consolidated Kennedy, and assistant producer on this episode, Tanner Kane.
How about that?
Who comes from the Sports Communication Office. He winced in pain when Dawn announced that they listed a 5'10 player as 6 feet tall, and I said, you can never trust those guys, so maybe they should change his office to sports miscommunication.
Well, maybe, but I give him credit. He may have winced, but he didn't audibly
No, he didn't
gasp.
say anything.
He didn't say anything.
He's been the model. He's been the model of absolute form. All right, we're out. Thanks for being with us. Three Guys before the game. See ya.